There are moments in history that feel like the world itself takes a breath and looks up, astonished. The rediscovery of Machu Picchu is one of those moments. Imagine it, thick clouds rolling over the Andean peaks, a blanket of green, mysterious silence all around. And then, through that swirling mist, the impossible appears. Stone walls, impossibly precise, terraces stacked like emerald steps, and the ghostly outline of a forgotten city perched above the abyss. It was in the year 1911, when the world was obsessed with finding lost civilizations and unraveling ancient mysteries, that a young historian from Yale, Hiram Bingham, hacked his way through the Peruvian jungle. He was following rumors, scraps of legend, whispers from farmers and mule drivers, stories of a ruined city hidden high in the clouds, untouched by the passage of centuries. Most stories in archaeology begin with a plan, a map, or a clear clue. This one began with uncertainty and doubt. Many thought the city was a myth, the product of fevered imaginations and wild local tales. But then, on a misty morning in July, a local farmer named Melcher Artiga led Bingham up a narrow trail. Through the overgrown jungle, the ruins emerged, as if the mountain itself was reluctantly surrendering its greatest secret. The sight was overwhelming. Stones, so precisely carved they seemed to fuse together without mortar. Temples, fountains, staircases spiraling upward, evidence of a civilization whose ambition and ingenuity defied logic. Everything about Machu Picchu felt impossible. How had anyone built this? Why here, on a knife-edge ridge between two towering peaks, in a place so remote even the Spanish conquerors never found it? My friend, this was not just another ruin. This was a revelation. As news spread, the world was captivated. Photographs of the city, stone against jungle, cloud drifting through empty windows, appeared in newspapers and magazines across the globe. Scholars argued and speculated. Was this the last refuge of the Inca kings, a religious sanctuary, an observatory, or perhaps something more mysterious, a place where ancient technology met spiritual vision in a way modern minds could barely comprehend? Even now, more than a century later, those questions haunt us, because Machu Picchu refuses to give up its secrets easily. Yes, we have mapped its streets, cataloged its stones, and traced its canals. But the real mystery is not just in the facts and measurements. It's in the feeling, the unmistakable sense, standing on those ancient terraces, that you are face to face with genius. Not just technical skill, but something deeper. Vision, determination. The courage to imagine the impossible and then make it real. Think about the world in which Machu Picchu was built. No machines, no dynamite. No wheels or draft animals to drag the stones up impossible slopes. Just hands, calloused, strong, guided by minds that understood the land better than any satellite ever could. This city was not just built. It was dreamed and then shaped out of raw stone and relentless rain. Every terrace is a promise. We will not be defeated by nature. Every stairway is a declaration. We will reach for the sky. But perhaps the greatest marvel of all is how Machu Picchu vanished. For centuries, it slept beneath the jungle, invisible to all but the few locals who knew its secret. The Spanish invaders never found it. History passed by and left it untouched. And then, in that fateful moment in 1911, it returned to the world, almost as if it had been waiting for humanity to remember what was possible. So what did Bingham and the world really discover that day? Was it just a collection of beautiful ruins? Or was it something more? A message from the past, a challenge to our present, a reminder that, with enough vision and determination, human beings can reshape mountains and bend time itself? These are the questions that echo through every stone and shadow of Machu Picchu. And these are the questions that will guide us on this journey. In the chapters ahead, we will unravel the astonishing secrets of how Machu Picchu was built, its impossible foundations, its living stones, its flowing water and sacred geometry. We will meet the minds that dreamed it, the hands that shaped it, and the mysteries that still guard its heart. But for now, let's stand with Bingham on that misty ridge, heart pounding, eyes wide, looking at the impossible. The moment the world saw Machu Picchu again, a moment that changed history and dared us all to believe that nothing is truly impossible. Imagine standing at the threshold of a mountain, thousands of meters above the roaring rivers, with only the wind and the wild silence as company. The peaks around you are jagged and merciless, the slopes so steep they seem to fall away into nothing. This is the sacred landscape the Inca chose, a place where most would see only danger and defeat, but where they saw potential and destiny. Why here? That question is as old as Machu Picchu itself. It is easy, from the comfort of our age of machines, to forget the audacity it took to even dream of building on this ridge. There were no roads to the summit, no cranes to lift the stones, no promise that nature would cooperate. The mountains themselves seemed determined to swallow up any hope of construction. But for the Inca, the mountains were not just obstacles. They were living beings, guardians, and guides. Every peak had a spirit, every slope held meaning. And so choosing this impossible site was not madness, it was reverence. It was vision. This was to be a city among the clouds, protected by nature itself, hidden from the eyes of the world, and perhaps even the gaze of their enemies. Yet the challenges were relentless. The soil was thin and restless, always threatening to slide away with every rainstorm. The cliffs were brittle, fractured by centuries of earthquakes. Even standing still on this land took courage, let alone building a city that would last for centuries. But the Inca saw more than danger, they saw opportunity. The first secret of Machu Picchu's construction lies in understanding the land, not fighting it. Before a single stone was carved, the Inca engineers studied the earth with the patience of gardeners and the wisdom of priests. They read the contours of the mountain, listened to the rhythm of rain and river, and mapped out the bedrock beneath their feet. The modern mind, so often in a hurry, might miss the genius in this slow beginning. With every step, the Inca embraced the challenge. They built terraces, dozens upon dozens of green, stone-buttressed platforms, stretching out like the fingers of the mountain itself. These terraces were more than simple farmland. They were the foundation of survival. Each one trapped soil that would have washed away, drained excess water that would have destroyed weaker walls, and turned the steep slope into a living ladder reaching to the sun. And then came the threat of earthquakes, a constant menace in these restless mountains. Here again, the Inca showed genius. Instead of rigid, monolithic walls, they designed structures with just enough give to dance with the earth rather than break beneath it. Large stones were laid with a slight inward tilt, interlocking without mortar, so that when the earth shook, the city swayed and settled instead of collapsing. Every stone, every terrace, every pathway was an act of respect for the unpredictable power of nature. The rivers, too, demanded respect. Rainstorms in the Andes can be merciless, turning gentle streams into raging torrents in minutes. The land was always on the brink of being swept away. So, the Inca engineered a system of channels, drains, and retaining walls, all hidden beneath the visible city, to manage the water that could so easily become a destroyer. This was not brute force. This was harmony, using the mountain's own logic to ensure survival. Standing on those terraces today, it is tempting to see only the beauty, the endless green, the sharp angles softened by centuries. But every stone, every patch of grass is a testament to hardship and vision, a victory snatched from the jaws of defeat, a city built on the very edge of the impossible. Let us not forget the human cost. Generations labored here, risking everything, carving their hope into the living rock. There were no shortcuts, no room for error. Every mistake could mean disaster, Mudslides collapsed walls, lost crops, but failure was not an option. For the Inca, success was more than survival. It was proof that humans working together could reach where no one else dared. That the will to build, when guided by wisdom and humility, can turn even the harshest landscape into a masterpiece. This was not just engineering. It was a spiritual partnership, a covenant between people and mountain, sealed with sweat and stone. Machu Picchu stands as the ultimate answer to the question, can you build where no one else would dare? The Inca did not just say yes. They proved it one terrace, one wall, one breathtaking risk at a time. In the next chapter, we'll travel even deeper into the heart of this wonder, to see how the stones themselves were chosen, shaped, and set to endure for centuries against gravity, time, and the wrath of the earth. The edge of the impossible is only the beginning. Are you ready to see how they turned stone into eternity? To truly understand Machu Picchu, you have to look beyond its breathtaking views and focus on the bones of the city, the stones themselves. Each block, each wall, each terrace is a testament not just to hard labor, but to an almost miraculous knowledge of the earth and its secrets. Because here, at the very edge of the world, the Inca achieved something that modern engineers still struggle to explain. They built with stone as if it were clay, shaping mountains into monuments that have endured for centuries. Close your eyes and picture it. Teams of workers, hands raw and muscles straining, chipping away at granite that is harder than steel. There were no iron tools, no diamond-tipped saws, no machines. Only stone against stone, wood and water, and the relentless will of a people who refused to accept limits. The stones used at Machu Picchu were quarried from the very mountain on which the city stands, a marvel of efficiency and harmony with nature. Dragging these massive blocks up steep slopes and through tangled jungle, the Inca left no written manual, no guide for us to follow. And yet, their legacy still stands. But it is not just the size of the stones that baffles us. It is their perfect fit. Run your fingers along the seams of a wall at Machu Picchu, and you will find no mortar, no glue, just stones so precisely shaped that even a blade of grass cannot slide between them. This technique, called Ashlar masonry, required not only patience and strength, but a kind of artistry. Each block was carved to fit the next, sometimes with dozens of angles, locked together so that the walls would sway and settle with the trembling of the earth, but never fall. How did they do it? Theories abound. Some believe the Inca used a system of wooden wedges, soaked in water to split and shape the stone. Others point to the use of sand and harder rocks as abrasives, slowly grinding the surfaces until they fit perfectly. There are even those who wonder if the Inca possessed secret methods now lost to time. But what remains clear is that this was more than construction. It was devotion. Every wall, every stair was built with the same care as a cathedral. Transporting the stones was its own miracle. Imagine a block weighing several tons, inching up a muddy slope, guided by sheer human determination and clever engineering. Without wheels, the Inca relied on rolling logs, earthen ramps, ropes made from jungle vines, and perhaps even teams singing in rhythm to coordinate their strength. There are no marks of draft animals. Every scar on the earth was made by human hands. But the genius of Machu Picchu is not only in how the stones were cut or moved, but in how they were set to last. The city is perched on a knife edge, battered by rain and shaken by frequent earthquakes. Any mistake, and the whole masterpiece could tumble down the slopes. To prevent this, the Inca created deep foundations. Sometimes as much as 3/4 of the height of a wall lies buried, hidden from view. Beneath the surface, a network of gravel, sand, and smaller stones acts as both anchor and drainage, letting water flow safely away rather than pool and destroy. Look at the walls themselves, and you'll notice something subtle. The stones lean slightly inward, the corners rounded, the faces angled just so. This was no accident. It was an intentional design, a way to make the buildings flexible, able to breathe with the earth. When an earthquake strikes, the stones shift, absorb the shock, and settle back into place. No cement would last so long, and no rigid structure would survive. The Inca understood that strength comes not from stubbornness, but from adaptability. The most sacred structures, temples, royal tombs, the famous Room of the Three Windows, were built with the finest masonry. Here, every block fits like a puzzle piece, and every surface is polished to a soft sheen. But even the simpler houses and terraces reflect the same principles: stability, harmony, and respect for the mountain. It is a city that feels grown rather than built, as if it had always belonged to the land. Modern engineers come here and leave with more questions than answers. How did they measure so precisely without written mathematics? How did they move so much material without animals or machines? How did they achieve such beauty and strength with such limited tools? The answers, perhaps, lie not in secret inventions, but in a way of seeing the world, one where patience, community, and relentless care make miracles possible. As you walk through Machu Picchu today, remember this: every stone is a story of vision, of struggle, of triumph over the impossible. The city has stood for more than 5 centuries, outlasting empires, earthquakes, and time itself. This was not just engineering. This was the defiance of gravity, the refusal to accept the word impossible, and the quiet confidence that, with enough courage and unity, even mountains can be shaped into dreams. Next, we will discover how Machu Picchu was not just stone and sweat, but a living city, its water, its sun, its sacred alignments. Are you ready to step into the heart of this marvel and see how it came alive? Let us leave behind the thunder of hammers on stone and listen, for a moment, to the gentle music of water flowing through Machu Picchu. Because this city, perched in the clouds, is much more than a collection of walls and terraces. It is alive, a living system where nature and human ingenuity are inseparable, where every drop, every shadow, every ray of sun was woven into daily life with exquisite care. Imagine waking up in Machu Picchu as the Inca once did. The dawn mists drift like veils across the mountain, and somewhere, almost hidden beneath your feet, water is already moving, whispering through channels cut with impossible precision. This was not an accident nor a luxury. It was a necessity solved with genius. Rain in the Andes is both a blessing and a threat. Too little and crops wither, too much, and the mountain itself can slide away, taking everything with it. So how did the Inca keep their city alive, balancing on the edge of disaster? They built a hydraulic system that is nothing less than a masterpiece, so advanced that even today, it still functions. The story begins far above the city, where a natural spring emerges from the mountain. Instead of letting the water flow where it might, the Inca captured it at its source. With painstaking care, they carved channels, some narrow and hidden, some broad and bold, guiding the water along a planned path. It flowed down through the city, feeding a series of stone fountains, 16 in all, each one positioned with mathematical accuracy. The first, closest to the royal residence, was reserved for the nobility. The rest, stepping down the slope, provided for priests, workers, and visitors alike. Water was not just for survival. It was a symbol of order, hierarchy, and life. But the genius of Machu Picchu's engineers did not stop there. Beneath every terrace, beneath every plaza, a hidden world of drains, gravel, and porous stone works ceaselessly. When the torrential rains come, this underground system carries the water safely away, preventing mudslides and rot. In total, more than half of all the effort at Machu Picchu went into foundations and drainage, an astonishing fact, and proof that the Incas understood, perhaps better than we do, that the most important things are often invisible. Yet Machu Picchu is not just a triumph of water, but of light and shadow. Look closely at the layout of the city. The principal buildings, the Temple of the Sun, the Intihuatana stone, the room of the three windows, they all point with purpose. At dawn and dusk, the sunlight streams through doorways and windows in ways that are never random. On solstices and equinoxes, shadows align, stones glow, and the city itself becomes a calendar, measuring not just days and seasons, but the rhythm of life itself. For the Inca, the cosmos was alive. The sun, Inti, was not just a source of warmth, but the father of the people, the beating heart of the empire. The stars told stories, the mountains, called Apis, watched over the city. Machu Picchu was built as a conversation with the sky, a place where humans could observe, honor, and perhaps even influence the powers that shaped their fate. The sacred Intihuatana, the hitching post of the sun, sits on a high platform, carved with such precision that, at the exact moment of the winter solstice, the sun stands directly above it, casting no shadow. Priests would gather here, offerings would be made, and the bond between earth and sky was renewed. To walk these paths is to step into a world where science and spirituality are one, where every measurement is also a prayer. But let us not romanticize. Life in Machu Picchu was not easy. The city was a hub of activity, workers tending fields, priests chanting at dawn, messengers carrying news, children learning to walk on steep steps. Yet everything worked because the city itself was designed to be in balance. Water, food, shelter, ritual, all sustained by an architecture that respected both the seen and unseen forces. Even in its silence, Machu Picchu pulses with energy. The way the river Urubamba winds far below, the way the mountain peaks rise like sentinels, the way the city fits into the natural curves and shadows, this is no accident. It is intention, vision, humility, and genius combined. The Inca did not conquer the mountain. They listened, learned, and then built in harmony with it. This is why, after centuries of storms, earthquakes, and neglect, the city still stands, alive, serene, and eternal. When you stand in Machu Picchu, you do not just see stones and sunbeams. You feel the heartbeat of a people who found a way to survive and flourish at the very edge of what is possible. And you realize that true greatness lies not in overpowering nature, but in joining with it, respecting it, and letting its wisdom shape your every choice. In our final chapter, we will confront Machu Picchu's greatest mysteries. Why was it abandoned? How was it lost? And what can its legacy teach us today about vision, humility, and the future we dare to build? Are you ready for the last journey, from disappearance to rediscovery and beyond? And now we come to the final mystery. After all the brilliance, the vision, the sweat, and sacrifice, why did Machu Picchu vanish from the world? How could a city so full of life become silent, lost beneath the jungle for centuries? The answers, like the city itself, are shrouded in mist, but what they reveal may be the greatest lesson of all. No one can say with absolute certainty why the Inca abandoned Machu Picchu. Some believe it was emptied after the arrival of the Spanish, as the empire crumbled and its leaders sought to protect their most sacred sites. Others suggest disease, brought from distant lands, swept through the population, leaving homes and temples empty. There are even theories that Machu Picchu had already served its purpose, a royal retreat, a ceremonial sanctuary, and that its time, like all things, simply came to an end. What is certain is that Machu Picchu did not fall to violence or disaster. There are no signs of battle, no scorched earth or toppled stones. The city was left with care, its doors closed, its fountains silenced, as if waiting for another dawn. And so, for centuries, the jungle crept in, wrapping every wall in silence, until only birds and wild animals remembered the shape of the terraces and the echo of human voices. Yet Machu Picchu was never truly lost. Its memory lingered in the stories of local farmers and wanderers, whispered down generations. Then, in the year 1911, the world was reminded of what it had forgotten. Hiram Bingham's rediscovery was not just an archaeological event. It was a moment of global astonishment, a revelation that human genius, once thought vanished, still endured on a mountaintop in the clouds. But what is Machu Picchu's legacy? Is it only a marvel of stone and survival, a tourist destination, or a puzzle for historians? Or is it something more, a message to our own restless age when we, too, build and abandon, create and forget, rise and fall? Machu Picchu is proof that greatness is not measured by conquest or power, but by the harmony we achieve with the world around us. Its walls whisper a challenge. Can we, in our own time, build with such vision, such humility, such reverence for the land that gives us life? Think for a moment about what the Inca accomplished, not just in stone but in spirit. They turned a perilous ridge into a sanctuary, shaped mountains into homes, and carved a life where others saw only obstacles. Their city endured not because it defied nature, but because it listened to nature, learned from it, and found strength in partnership rather than domination. And that perhaps is the true genius of Machu Picchu. Its legacy is not just the survival of walls, but the survival of wisdom, a reminder that the future belongs to those who build with respect, imagination, and courage. We stand, as Bingham once did, in awe of what human beings can achieve when they refuse to accept the limits of the possible. So, as you look again at the stones of Machu Picchu, gleaming in the sunlight, shrouded in cloud, weathered but unbeaten, ask yourself, what will we build and will it endure? What dreams will we dare to shape, not just for ourselves, but for those who come after? The challenge is before us, and the answers will echo far beyond these mountains. If this journey has inspired you, if you feel the spark of curiosity and all that Machu Picchu has kindled for over 5 centuries, join us. Subscribe to our channel, share this story, and become part of a community that believes in the power of wonder, knowledge, and respect for the past. This is not the end, but a beginning. The secrets of Machu Picchu are waiting. Will you be part of the next discovery?